Hey guys, welcome back. In this particular video, we're going to take a look at remote management of the ASA firewall. At this point, all the configurations that I've done so far has all been based on the console connection. So I've connected into your ASA firewall just like a router. The ASA firewall also has a console port. So I've been doing all the configurations as if I'm connected to the console port. Now that's not what you generally will be doing because the ASA will be racked up somewhere in your data center. So you want to be able to access the ASA firewall remotely, and the way you do that is either via SSH, Telnet, or using ASDM, which is in conjunction with HTTP. ASDM is a graphical tool for management of the ASA firewall. We'll be taking a look at how to do that also in this particular video series. But to get started, let's go ahead and take a look at what do I need to do on the ASA firewall to allow this remote access through these different mediums of remote management. So in this particular video, as I said, remote management access protocols that you have, we'll take a look at Telnet, SSH, and HTTP. All the configurations that we have done so far have all been through the console port. So let's go ahead and jump into the different remote access protocols that you guys have available to you to configure so that you can manage the ASA firewall remotely. So first one, Telnet, gives you access to the console from a remote device from your admin PC. The problem with Telnet, although it's very easy to configure it, is that Telnet is a clear text password or clear text protocol, not password. Clear text protocol, which allows the ability for a hacker to do a Wireshark on your network, and as you're doing a show run, the entire running config of the firewall will be transmitted in the clear. Not a recommended protocol to use, but it is there nonetheless. The other problem with Telnet is it does not allow you the ability to do Telnet if you're coming in from an interface that has a security level set to 0. So for example, if you have the outside interface, even if you put the command in to allow Telnet from the outside, it's not going to work on an interface that's set to a security level 0. I'll show you that. I'll demonstrate that to you guys in the lab video where I'll actually allow Telnet from the outside, but you'll see it's not going to work. The other protocol, the preferred protocol for CLI management is SSH. SSH does give you the ability to manage or access the console of your ASA remotely. It is like Telnet. The difference is it is CLI, but it is all encrypted. It is the recommended protocol if you're using CLI-based management. So CLI-based management, it is the recommended protocol. The third one that you have is for your graphical management through a device, through a utility known as ASDM. It's a graphical tool that allows you the ability to manage your ASA firewall from a GUI interface, a GUI type of setup. One of the advantages of doing that is some of the VPNs that you set up, specifically AnyConnect remote access VPN services, those have to be done through ASDM. Those type of services, you won't be able to, certain capabilities of those are not available to you on the CLI. So for some of the things, you need to use the ASDM utility to be able to manage it. We'll be taking a look at all three of them in this video series. In this particular video, though, we're just going to take a look at what are the commands that you need to do on the ASA firewall to do it. The labbing up of those protocols will be done in the videos that follow. So let's go ahead and talk about Telnet. What do I need to do on the ASA firewall to implement Telnet as a management protocol? Again, one of the restrictions is cannot be configured on an interface with a security level of 0. So can be configured on any interface except an interface with a security level of 0. So you cannot do it from outside. You will be forced to do SSH or HTTPS from the outside. It needs to be enabled on the interface, and allowed address needs to be specified. So for example, over here, what I'm doing over here is I'm enabling Telnet from this particular range of addresses. You can do a specific address as well, which I'm doing over here, 192.168.3.3 with a host mask on that particular interface. So this command enables Telnet on the inside and the DMZ interface for these specific source addresses. These are your source addresses that are allowed to telnet into your ASA firewall. Now, in order to do that, you need to set up a password. The password is set up by using a command, a global config command called passwd. So passwd sets your telnet password. So when you telnet into your ASA firewall, the prompt that you'll be given for the password, you need to type this password in. You do have the ability to tie up telnet to a username and password combination as well. That username password combination can be local, or it can be on a remote AAA server. In this particular video series, we're going to focus on the local aspect only. And I'll actually show you how to do that in the lab environment. The next one is SSH. For SSH, you don't have a choice. You do need to do the username password combination. SSH does not work only on the premise of the password. Some of the things about the SSH protocol configured on a per interface basis, just like just like Telnet. So I'm enabling SSH over here for this particular source address. This is an entire network on the inside interface, and this specific address on the outside interface. Now, SSH is able to connect in remotely, even on a security level of 0, because SSH is an encrypted mechanism of transferring data or doing the remote management. It does require an RSA key to be generated. It also requires a username password combination. You can do it based on the local database, which I'm doing over here, username Kowar, password as Cisco123, and then tying up my SSH authentication based on the local database. I could have done the same thing with Telnet. So if I wanted to do this with Telnet, so let's say I've also enabled Telnet on the inside. So I would say 10.11.11.0, 255.255.255.0 on the inside. I've done this command already. So rather than using the password, I do have the ability to create the database just like I did for SSH. I can use the same common database. And linking up my authentication for Telnet, authentication, Telnet console. The word console over here is just a keyword. It does not mean the console port. Telnet console means I want to authenticate the Telnet connection using the local database. This local over here is the pointer to the local database. The local over here has to be in uppercase local. It is case sensitive. So if you try to do AAA authentication, SSH console or Telnet console with the local specified in lowercase, it's not going to take. It's going to come back and tell you that the method is not found. So make sure you put the local in uppercase to point it to the local authentication database, which is right over here. All right, that's for SSH management. Again, per interface, this is the source who can SSH into the firewall. This is your username password. This is your RSA keys. The RSA keys requires a fully qualified domain name. So let's say the name of the ASA is Cisco ASA. The fully qualified domain name becomes asakbschool.online. And that's what I'm creating the crypto RSA key based on, the fully qualified domain name. That's why I need to put the domain name over here. All right, again, we'll lab it up and you guys can see how it's done. The last one over here is your remote management using HTTP. Again, HTTP allows you the ability to use the ASDM, which is a graphical tool that will allow you the ability to manage the ASA from a graphical tool. I'll show you how to do that as well. In order to do that, the first thing, I need to enable the HTTP protocol generally overall. I need to enable my device as an HTTP server, then specify that HTTP is allowed on this particular interface from this source address. So I'm allowing it from the 10.10.10.0 network on the inside interface, create the username, password, set the privilege level to 15, giving it full access, which is required for HTTP ASDM access. AAA authentication, HTTP console, just like I did SSH and Telnet console access through the local database that ties up to the username password database, the local database. Again, as I said, you could have pointed this to a TACAC server or a Radius server. All right, but over here, from our lab perspective, we're going to be doing it based on the local database. All these things that we talked about in this particular video, that includes your telnet management, your SSH management, HTTP management using ASDM. All of these things will be labbed up in the videos coming up. So do join us for those videos. Thanks for watching. See you guys in the next video.